War in the Pacific. The Allies face a new threat, the A6M3. Its lightweight and maneuverability make it a hard target for the American pilots, but can it handle the Corsair? Now, you're in the cockpit as the A6M3 rises to take on the legendary Corsair. We're looking at specifications, tactics, and ultimately, who would win in Dogfights Versus. (1941) on the Pearl Harbor map. The A6M3 preys on lone wolf American pilots who could not outturn this maneuverable plane. This P-40 makes the fatal mistake of trying to turn fight with the A6M30. As maneuverable as the A6M3 is, this P-40 does not know what he is in for. In hopes on a head-on-head pass, the P-40 pulls up. Unfortunately, the shots miss and the A6M3 is easily able to maneuver on his 6 o'clock. The P-40 dares to make another turn, eating valuable energy in this fight. 20mm cannons rip holes in this P-40's left wing. One more mistake and this P-40's finished. Unfortunately for him, he decides to go into a vertical climb, which results in an immediate stall. From this, the A6M3 lines up for the shot, getting a perfect angle. Bullets rip through the fuselage, catching the engine on fire and incinerating the pilot and the plane. This P-35 blindsided unfortunately makes the mistake of turning with A6M3. Doubting its maneuverability, the A6M3 hits shots right in the fuselage, instantly igniting and blowing up this plane. Out of the corner of his eye, the A6M3 spots a Corsair diving in from his 1 o'clock. The A6M3 sticks on the P-40, hoping that the Corsair moves on. The Corsair doesn't. He's on his 6 o'clock. This fight's getting dangerous. The A6M3 breaks into a left turn, hoping to outturn the Corsair. The Corsair can't keep up. He's eating valuable energy. This gives the A6M3 the ultimate advantage here. He then lines up for the shot after completing his turn. The Corsair is turning the wrong way now, giving the A6M3 a better shot. The distance is closing, the A6M3 is in range. The A6M3 unleashes his powerful 20mm guns, sending the Corsair into a death spiral and then leaving the game. The A6M3 has killed the mighty Corsair. The Corsair is a very powerful plane. It cruises at 40% faster than the Zero, going at 540 miles per hour before it starts to lose speed, while the Zero only cruises at 600 kilometers per hour, which is, like I said, 40% less. The Corsair can complete a 360-degree turn in about 12 seconds compared to the A6M3's 11 seconds, so it's roughly a second more, so the maneuverability isn't too different, but it's enough for the A6M3 to easily get on the Corsair 6. Now, going on to armor, the Corsair is way more heavily armored than the A6M3 is. On head-to-head encounters, the Corsair can easily take out the A6M3 because it can take all that punishment, while the A6M3 cannot. Now, going on to firepower, the Corsair is equipped with 6 50 cal machine guns, which can easily rip through the weakly armored Zero, while the Zero is only equipped with 2 20mm cannons and 2 13mm machine guns. Now, looking at payload, you might be surprised to see that the Corsair cannot carry as much as the A6M3. The Corsair can only carry 2 500-pound bombs, compared to the A6M3's 2 250-kilogram bombs, which equivalates to about 551 pounds of bombs. So it's just a little bit more, but not that much. Now, these stats are great, but it doesn't necessarily determine the victor of the dogfight. Let's look at a little bit more and then onto some gameplay. Now, the Corsair can easily outdive the A6M3, making it perfect for B&Z. Along with its better climb rate, it can easily outclimb the A6M3 as well. When it comes down to energy retention, it's about the same for both of them. You'll notice that they can stay in a turn fight and vertical fight for as long as each other, and same with the stall speed. The stall speeds are about the same. The A6M3 stalls a little bit earlier, but you can keep the plane going up for about as long as the Corsair can. Now, back in action, the A6M3 is hot on the tail of a B-26, lighting the fuselage and engines on fire, setting the plane into a death spiral. The crew does not make it out. The Hudson, with less than 100 meters separating the crew from life and death, the A6M3 engages from a high altitude position. The A6M3 then bakes right, getting on the Hudson's 7 o'clock low. The gunner doesn't have a shot, but the A6M3 does. Blasting parts off the plane, the Hudson misses its bombs. It's leaking oil now and is slowly going down. The wing bursts off, the fuselage is on fire, the Hudson has been defeated. The A6M3 has claimed yet another victory. Facing multiple threats with little protection, the A6M3 climbs up high in hopes of diving upon its enemies and using its extreme maneuverability to get on the opponent's 6 o'clock. Another P-40 caught between life and death as 13mm rain upon its frame. The P-40 then decides to go into a climb, leading into a stall. The A6M3s have a shot. They knock off the rudder of the plane. The plane is slowly losing energy that is needed to dive out of the situation. Turning with the A6M3 was a fatal mistake. Bullets rain into the fuselage as he desperately tries to make maneuvers to dodge all these bullets. Tracer rounds light up the sky as this P-40 desperately tries to escape the situation. The left wing has been knocked off and bursts into a big ball of flames as the bomb goes off. The Zeros have defeated yet another opponent. Ammo running dry. The A6M3 goes for a desperate last attack on Pearl Harbor. The ships and ground units open fire with their flak cannons. The A6M3 pulls rolls to dodge the maneuvers, then lines up for the shot. The A6M3 opens fire with the last of his rounds as flak cannons burst around left and right of the plane. He's surely been hit now, and he crashes into the watchtower. Midway, 1942. The Corsair takes off from Midway. His objective: establish air superiority over the Imperial fleet. A Ki-61 makes a beeline for Midway. The Corsair must act fast. Having the altitude advantage, this experienced pilot should have no problem catching up with the Ki-61. A torrent of 650 caliber machine guns rains upon the Heinz's fuselage. Tracer rounds light up the island. The Heinz hit bad. His rudder has fallen off. Flak opens fire upon the Hind. The Hind does not stand much of a chance in this fight. The Hind starts to take evasive actions and brakes left and right, trying to dodge the bullets and flak rounds bursting everywhere. He then engages in a turn fight, but too late. The Corsair already had an angle, and the Hind incinerates. Another attack, this time from a Ki-43. The Ki-43 turns around and goes on to head-on-head. The Corsair dodges. The fight has just begun. The Corsair loops around, hoping it's maneuverable enough. The move was a failure. The Corsair is in a terrible position. Tracer rounds whiz past the fuselage. Unfortunately, the scene looked so cool it distracted the pilot from looking at where he was going. Another encounter. The Hind is within death grip. 50 calibers rip into the Hind's fragile canvas. The Hind goes into a fatal climb which gives the Corsair an angle. The wounded Ki-61 continues with his kamikaze mission, but is stopped shortly after a flak burst hits his plane. The Corsair has the altitude advantage against this Ki-61. He begins to dive going inverted. The Hind takes notice and initiates a vertical dive in order to escape the bullets. Unfortunately, it's too late. The Corsair is hot on his tail and unleashes powerful 50 cals. The Hind's left wing caves in, smacking the engine, unleashing a deadly fireball. Another Hind makes a beeline for Midway. However, it's no match for the Corsair's speed. The Corsair is gaining on the Hind, and bullets are starting to land. The Corsair senses an overshoot and cuts his throttle. The Hind runs straight into the 50 cals, blowing off its left wing, and into the ocean it goes. The Corsair is up against multiple attackers. The odds are not in his favor, but his skills are. A Zero dares to go for a head-on-head pass, but stalls out before he can fully reach his height, and gets shot to oblivion. Then a cape flies over his head as a Hind quickly summons himself behind the Corsair's tail. The Corsair is here. The Hind is on his 6 o'clock in a hot pursuit. The Corsair is fighting in the vertical, hoping that the Hind will stall out before the Corsair so that the Corsair can come around for the kill. Now let's look at this in perspective. This tactic is known as B&Z, where the Corsair outclimbs the opponent, hoping that they stall out before him so that he can come around and land himself the kill while the opponent has stalled out. Now, let's see this maneuver in action. The Corsair viciously climbs, dodging the 4 20mm cannons that'll easily shred this plane to bits. At this point, both the Corsair and the Hind have lost most of their energy in this fight. The Zero that was hit earlier has gone down, probably due to flak. Both planes are now at the verge of a stall, but the Corsair is much higher and has the advantage. The Hind is already turned over, and the Corsair goes with him, pulling right rudder to keep steady. The Corsair begins its vicious dive. The Hind is now a sitting duck. The Hind must either think fast or bail out now. Bullets start to rain. The Hind initiates evasive maneuvers, turning left and right and braking everywhere. The Hind straightens up, giving the Corsair a shot. Ailerons fly off the Hind. With only a rudder and elevator left, the Hind is surely out of this fight. The Corsair begins another deadly climb to dive upon the Hind once more. However, as disabled as the Hind is, the flak easily will finish him off. The dive has been initiated, but in vain. The Hind will crash into the ocean, thus giving the pilot 2 more kill credits to their name. An A6M2 screams towards the Hind. The 650 cals open fire. The 50 cals will shred this A6M2 to tiny bits. Another opponent has been spotted, this time the A6M3. This is the fight, boys. The A6M3 versus the Corsair. He's going on a head-on-head, a fatal mistake for the A6M3. The armor was not strong enough to withstand the punishment, as was the Corsair's. The A6M3 goes down, and the footage is corrupted. The Corsair continues its climb to dive upon more weakly armored Zeros. The Corsair noses over and begins its dive. The poor A6M2 is now a sitting duck, and his fate lies within the hands of the Corsairs. The Zero miraculously survives, but the Corsair is not finished yet. Beginning another climb, the Zero can expect another attack. The Corsair noses over and begins its second dive, this time a head-on-head encounter with the Hind. All the shots missed, but now the Corsair has an angle on another Hind who is headed straight for Midway. The Corsair steadies up for the shot, but wait, he's out of ammo. He makes a beeline for Midway. The Hind now has the advantage. He got lucky this time. 20mm rounds fly past the Corsair. The Corsair is getting desperate. The Corsair cuts the throttle, but he's still going too fast. He's gonna have to make another pass. With the Hind still on him, this will be a dangerous landing. Hopefully the flak can help him out. The Corsair kicks left and right rudder to slow down, but he's still going too fast. The Hind is right on his tail, firing non-stop. Miraculously, the Corsair survives, and has now had enough speed to lower the gear to land on Midway Atoll. The Hind starts to turn around, going for a strafing run on the Corsair. Midway Atoll is now surrounded by the Imperials. The Corsair is grounded safely, however the Hind has been hit by flak. More Japanese fighters are preparing to attack. The plane has been reloaded. Time for another takeoff. The Corsair jettisons its bombs to gain additional speed while the Zeros zoom in. The first A6M2 is claimed by the flak already. Only 2 more opponents remain in the fight. The Hind and the Corsair are about to go head to head. Both planes open fire, hoping the other will flinch first. The Hind flinches and catches on fire and goes down. A Kate torpedo bomber has been spotted. The Corsair engages. The Hind sets his lead and steadies his shots. The back gunner of the Kate is now firing back. The Corsair has been hit, but not terribly bad. However, the Kate has been shot down. The Corsair spots 2 more targets to his 11 o'clock. Meanwhile, on Midway Atoll, the ground crew readies their flak cannons and open fire upon the Hinds. The gunner must estimate their lead to hit the target. This type of flak cannon shoots a 40mm round. Because the travel velocity of these rounds are so slow, it should be relatively easy for the Hind to dodge these rounds. The bursts are slowly getting closer to the Hind, with each shot even closer than before. The Hind knows if he keeps this maneuver up much longer, he will be hit. He makes a break for it. The flak crew zeroes in and lands a shot right on the Hind. The Hind bursts into flames and goes down into the forest. Midway Atoll has been successfully defended. Back to the Corsair. The Corsair has made it to the opponent fleet and is about to initiate his dive bomb. The most effective way for the Corsair to dive bomb is from over 6,000 feet and diving in at a near 90-degree angle. Aim for the center of mass on the carrier near the bridge and drop your bombs. Then pull from the dive using your flaps so you do not ram into the ocean. Pull away and watch the glorious explosion. The Corsair climbs and dives for another attack, strafing the opponent destroyers. The Corsair sprays the 650 cals all over the destroyer, destroying almost all the guns on board. The Corsair dives away and climbs for another attack. Nosing over, the Corsair prepares for another strafe. This time on another destroyer. The destroyer opens fire on the Corsair, but the Corsair is not giving in. Bullets rip through all the compartments of the destroyer, destroying almost all the guns. The battle has been won. So in conclusion, guys, I think the Corsair wins. It's just way more faster, has way more armor, and it's just way more firepower. It can easily take down the A6M3. But remember, guys, it's all about the pilot. I killed a Corsair in the A6M3. So, I mean, if you're a good pilot, you can take either one down. But anyways, guys, thank you for watching today's episode, and I'll see you at the end card. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure you go check out the first one, but let me just warn you, the first one wasn't as good. Also, guys, I hope you did enjoy this video. I tried to fix everything you guys told me about, and I hope it turned out great for you guys. So I really hope you guys enjoyed it, but please let me know down in the comments below who won, and if you liked today's episode. So anyways, guys, I'll see you next time. G9 from the Versus channel, signing out.